Welcome to Monday Night Live. Hi, you guys. Kathryn Kauffman. I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky, and this is your every Monday Night Live broadcast. So this week is going to start the Alien series, which I've been promising you guys for a very long time. So we're finally at the point where we can do the Alien series. And that's going to be probably 4 or 5 part series on aliens. Aliens, UFOs, sightings, all of the above. So I'm just going to blather on about a few things until everybody gets their notifications and starts to get on here. Let's see, we've got some people hopping on. Hey, Melissa, Cynthia, how are you guys this evening? Nice to see you. And so tonight is extraterrestrial species. That's what we're going to discuss. And I have examples of some basic extraterrestrial species that have been documented. Now, there's absolutely no proof that we have of extraterrestrial life. However, if there is proof, it may be being kept from us. There's a lot of indicators about that. So, you know, we could very well already have proof and just not have access to that. Hey, Danny. So let's first go over what extraterrestrial life is, what it is exactly. So it's anything that is a life form, be it, you know, a single-celled organism all the way up to a complex organism that does not originate from the Earth. So extraterrestrial meaning off of the planet. Now, right now, these are hypothetical life forms that, you know, what we do have is documentation of people having sightings and reporting exactly what they are encountering, what it looked like, how the interaction happened, and what the experience was like. Hey, Lana. Hey, Sharon. So all of this information are taken from thousands of, you know, people's actual reports of what happened to them. So since the mid-20th century, you know, as humans, we've been searching for extraterrestrial life in several different ways. And the modes of things that we're looking for, what we're using are telescopes, radio signals, to determine if there's any kind of communication coming from other planets to ours. So Cynthia has a comment. I thought it was in the old yogurt I just threw away, green monster. Actually, yes. Cynthia, when I was doing the research for this, there are several alien species that were reported to be green. Hence, the first species we'll go into, you remember the little saying, little green men? Well, that was actually one of the ways that people reported them. Yes, little green men were one of the biggest ways that people encountered these beings. Hey, Frank. So, since then, the concept of extraterrestrial life, and particularly extraterrestrial intelligence, is really one that has intrigued us. The concept of it is very invigorating and very intriguing, and we want to know more. We want to have some type of communication with these entities. So here's one of the first ones that I found in my research. Hey, Ellen. Hey, Mary. Let me make sure that there's no questions. Please, if you guys have a question about this, just hit the comments section. If I don't get to you during the broadcast, I always follow up after the broadcast to answer all the questions. Hey, Chastity. So, and a couple of these I had never heard one, and the next one is one of the ones I had not heard of before, is the Flatwoods monster. Now, this is a humanoid shape. The Flatwoods monster is a humanoid shape, meaning 2 arms, 2 legs, and a trunk and a head. But however, the head is like in the shape of a spade or a shovel. So it's wider at the bottom and comes up to a point. And that was described as the Flatwoods monster. Hey, Annette. So she says, someone told me that spiders were alien, as even babies recoil from them. I hadn't heard that, Annette, but you have piqued my interest, and I'm going to go on a search and find out about that. And I will let you know what I find out. Hey, Rosa. Hey, Michael. So moving on, the most prevalent one that people encounter, and this makes up 43% of all reported alien interaction, are the grays. Now, sometimes the grays are described as gray or described as brown. Sometimes they're described as brown. 3 to 4 feet tall, bald, the big black almond-shaped eyes, the nostrils that don't have a nose around it, the tiny slit for the mouth, no ears, and then 3 fingers with an opposable thumb. These are like the classic icon that comes to mind when we think about an alien. Hey, Eden. Let's just make sure there's no questions. Okay, so the grays are usually described as that, and they are the center of the cases where alleged abduction usually takes place. And they are also described as being sexless with the large heads, so there's no sex organs that are visible in the reports. And I think the first documented sighting goes all the way back to 1893, which I found was extremely interesting. And that was a novel by Whitley Strieber called Communion, and it involved a time machine, which that was very interesting as well. Hey, Jen. So here is another one that I hadn't heard of, and this one was new to me, the Hopkinsville Goblin. So the Hopkinsville Goblin is described as small, greenish silver, and humanoid shape, meaning 2 arms, 2 legs, a trunk, and a head. So Hopkinsville Goblin. Now we're getting off into another area right now. One of the other entities that are described, and they have 3 different names that are associated with this type of alien, are the Nordic, they're also called Pleadian, and Venusians. Okay, these are get a strong resemblance from the Scandinavian peoples, very tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, average height being 6 to 7 feet. Reported to have very strong telepathic abilities. Hey, Julie. Hey, Sheila. Although some say they possessed magical powers of moving things and causing things to happen, they really are more earth connected and environment connected, which I kind of am confused by that. Historically, they're more earth connected, but if they're extraterrestrial, then they're not from here. So that doesn't make any sense to me. However, if this species is like elven or fairy, then that would make some sense. And if you think about it, these other beings that we think are aliens or extraterrestrial are really, most of them are described in fairy folklore, to be honest with you, right down to the size and the shape of the head and the eyes and everything. So you got to think about it. You got to wonder. Hey, Donna. So the Pleadians are these Nordic aliens, supposedly. Tall, blonde hair, blue eyes, and very connected to the Earth's environment, which I found very odd if they're extraterrestrial. Okay, now this one has really been, you know, on a lot of shows and a lot of broadcasts and, you know, a lot of YouTube videos for the last, I would say, probably 5 or 6 years. And they're getting a lot more scrutiny as the Reptilians. So the Reptilians are tall, scaly humanoids. Let me make sure there's no questions. So Cynthia says, what about Thin Man? It appears in drawings like a tall alien being. I found that scary and interesting. Yes. Tall, thin man may be described as one of these other races that I did some research on. And we have seen some videos on YouTube of these tall, really thin alien beings. Don't know if those videos are, you know, very reputable or not. We'll just have to see. Hey, Shay. Hey, Michelle. So the Reptilians kind of came on the scene in 1929 in an issue of Weird Tales that was published by Robert E. Howard's The Shadow Kingdom. And this was a literary record of supposedly a real abduction by these reptilians. And the reptilian, supposedly this took place in 1967 in Ashland, Nebraska, and Officer Herbert Schreimer of the Ashland Police Department claimed to have been taken aboard a ship inhabited by reptilian creatures. Some have theorized that the reptilians are shapeshifters who can take on human form and live amongst us. And, you know, here in the last, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years, there's been a lot of conspiracy theory about, you know, people in power and people in the government really being reptilians. And but if you look at some of the behavior, it's not really far off. Oh my goodness. Okay, moving right along. The next ones that I found were the Annunaki. And the Annunaki date all the way back to ancient Mesopotamia. And they supposedly came to us from the planet Nibiru. And they are associated with coming to this planet to mine the gold. Supposedly they needed the gold for their community and space travel. So Cynthia says, many compare the Egyptian hieroglyphs to aliens as they have elongated heads. Yes, that's the elongated heads, and a lot of the inscriptions have been on a lot of the alien theory shows. Hey, Scott. So, yes, the Anunnaki are well documented. These ancient alien miners were revered by the gods as revered as gods by the Sumerian civilizations. Most civilizations revered the Anunnaki as gods or as royalty. So it's said that the Anunnaki interbred with the humans of the area in that time, and that produced a species called Adamic, Evadamic hybrids. And that's the next one that I wanted to present to you. So the Evadamic hybrids supposedly were the first descendants of the Anunnaki, after they interbred with the local populace. And let's see, there was something I wanted to tell you about the Adamic here. So there's another group of aliens called the Draconians, and supposedly the Draconians and the Evadamic humans battled over a big section of the earth in Egypt, and they would look at somewhat Middle Eastern or Native American in appearance. Black, dark brown hair, dark eyes, olive eyes, in rare cases blue eyes. And so we see some mythology in this section of the world during that time that reflects a lot of this. So I found that very interesting, that a lot of folklore and mythology of that area during this time backs up what we're reading about. So Cynthia says the Nephilim. Yes. When we did the broadcast on the Watchers, there was a lot of debate on that show about whether or not the Nephilim were angels or whether they were aliens. And I never did really decide which one I thought that they were, because they have characteristics of both groups that are in the reports. So supposedly the Nephilim were all killed by the Great Flood, but you know, all across the earth in some of the archaeological sites, they're actually uncovering some gigantic bones. And so I'm thinking that all of the Nephilim were not killed by the Great Flood. So let's move on. I've got two more before we end for the evening, and then I wanted to just drop in your lap some names of some other ones that may or may not be extraterrestrial life forms. But this was one that I heard about when I was a kid, the Alpha Centaurians. That was on a lot of you know, scientific shows and you know, space shows. And so the Alpha Centaurians are humanoid species, again, 2 arms, 2 legs, trunk, and a head. But these had aquatic qualities such as gills, webbed feet, allowing them to live beneath the sea. This meant that they possibly inhabit our deep oceans, and this will account for a lot of the USOs under unidentified sea objects that come out of the sea. And they're flying objects after they exit the water, but so they're USOs until they hit the air, and then they become UFOs. So, but interestingly, the cattle mutilations are associated with the Alpha Centaurians, which I didn't understand that either. If they're, you know, webbed feet and under the ocean, how do they get out to the southwest to mutilate cattle? So, hey Paige, hey Louise, hey Carolyn. So anyway, they have advanced weapon systems, and that other species will not war with them. I'm not sure about that. I don't remember reading anything about that. Now, what I had been reading was that the Alpha Centaurians were very enlightened, and the consciousness was raised or higher than human. And the skin color on this species was described as kind of a luminous bluish gray color, and the height really kind of varies. So, but if you think about it, okay, webbed hands, webbed feet, that kind of sounds like folklore mer people, doesn't it? To me it does. So sound off and let me know what you think. Does that sound like mer people to you in your folklore? Do you remember reading about mer people? right down to the luminous bluish gray color too. The last ones that I want to present to you guys before I go over the graph is the Andromedans, and they're 2.2 million light years away from the Earth, is their galaxy, and they're far more advanced, supposedly far more advanced than we are, with an average lifespan of 2,000 years. And supposedly the Andromedans have been visiting our planet for quite a long time, unlike most aliens. The Andromedans actually have compassion for humans and are concerned with our well-being and raising our vibration or raising our consciousness. And so right now what we're coming into in this day and age is the Sphere Alliance, the Sphere beings and the Sphere Alliance. And what I'll do, if anybody is interested in learning more about the Blue Sphere Alliance, which this is what's happening now in our age right now, I will leave a link to their Facebook page in the comments section after we get done, so you can look up the Blue Sphere Alliance and see kind of what they're doing. The Blue Sphere Alliance are beings that are trying to help us evolve and trying to help us bring our vibrance and our resonance up higher. And so there's a lot of people that are joining in that Blue Sphere Alliance, and they're having like seminars and stuff all over the Earth right now, trying to spread that word. Hey, Tasha. So some of the other ones I wanted to tell you guys about on this, and they mention all these alien species, although a lot of these I don't feel like are necessarily extraterrestrial, and more are just kind of mythological. But really, we're kind of splitting hairs between mythology, folklore, and then of people coming into contact with these. So here are some of the alien species that are listed on here that I wasn't really sure about. So I didn't go into them, but I can give you a link to this reference if you want to go and read more about them. So there's one called Vampira reptilians. So that kind of sounds like vampire, doesn't it? There's one that's called White Brotherhood of Light. That really didn't sound too extraterrestrial. There's one called the Winged Draconians and the Insectoids. Now that could very well be one. Luciferians. That really didn't sound like one either, so I didn't present it to you. Let's see. Now this one I've seen on TV. Raelians. Who all has seen the Raelians on TV? Anything about the Raelians? Okay, so Carolyn has a comment. Hey, Barbara. Do you think Egyptians had help from other species to help them build? What about Stonehenge? Yes, I do. I think a lot of those monuments, and especially Pumapunku, I do believe that those things were created with the help of an advanced species. Why they're not around anymore, I don't know, but then, you know, our government may be keeping that from us. So everything in our technology and the big explosion in our technology in just the last 50 years points to something extraterrestrial coming in to help us out, because the normal advancement of things doesn't fit with what's going on. Stonehenge probably was also, just being that those blue stones were cut from a different area and transported over that long distance to where Stonehenge is. That sort of points to having quite a bit of help. Cynthia wants to know, what about crop circles? The elaborate supersize of hieroglyphs in Peru, only seen from space, that have the spider. Crop circles, I think the original ones were authentic, but then we got a lot of people that were going in and making crop circles to try to prove it is, you know, false. Leave it to humans to go in and, you know, do something like that. So I think the original ones, the original crop circles were probably real, but since those sightings, I'm not, you know, there are a lot of them that have been recreated by people. Hieroglyphs in Peru only seen from space. Those are the Nazca lines. Those are called the Nazca lines. They're very, very fascinating. There's been a lot of talk and kind of theories going around about what the Nazca lines were. The last theory I think that I saw or read was that they marked some kind of water sources, but then I'm like, okay, water sources for who would be able to see that large of a thing? Doesn't make any sense. So all the theories that they've come up with to explain the Nazca lines really don't make a lot of sense to me. As I see, it's very loosely kind of put together. But if you look at it logically, it kind of falls down. So, hey Nicole, hey Judy. Anyway, yep, our time is up for today. So this is just the first part of a multi-series on aliens. I think that next Monday I want to give some sightings. So if you guys would, if you've had any sightings, please send me those on Facebook Messenger. I promise you I will share them anonymously for you, and we'll discuss you know, your sighting, and I will tell you about our sighting as well. So Tasha says, do you believe there is an alien species that looks like us living among us? You know, that's plausible, Tasha. It's plausible, and it very well could be. It very well could be. So I have to tell you, Tasha, I've really thought about it, and you know, it makes you really think about, you know, the world that you live in and the people that you encounter every day. So, Kyla, all you have to do is, I know you missed the beginning, but I saved these to my YouTube channel, and I'll put my link to the YouTube channel. And so this will be uploaded to my playlist on YouTube, probably Wednesday. And if you want to go back and watch all the other episodes of Monday Night Live, you can go back on the YouTube channel and watch those as well. There's a whole bunch of really fun episodes. And if you guys enjoy these Monday night broadcasts, hit the share button on that screen and share this with your friends. And also, mark my notifications on my page and hit the see first, so that as soon as I start a broadcast, you're going to get that notification. You're going to get in on the beginning of these broadcasts. So I will see you next Monday night. And don't forget to send me your sightings of UFOs or any kind of alien encounter you've had. If you've had, you know, a possible abduction, send that message to me. And we'll discuss it anonymously, of course, next week. Kisses from Kentucky. See you guys next Monday. Bye, guys.